Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today the old pith helmet's going to come in handy as we venture into the jungle. Dschungel was released by Spears Games in 1983 and is a strategy game for 2 to 6 players. As you can see from the front of the box here, we've not got very much in the way of artwork. We've just got a big studio photograph, and on the back there's absolutely nothing. So this is a game that's really being marketed at adults, serious adults who like to play games with little blocks of wood for playing pieces. It's a simple strategy game with just lots of tile laying and then trying to outmaneuver your opponent in order to get off of the board. But simple doesn't always equate with bad. So how does this game actually measure up? Well, let's take a closer look and find out. The game comes with 72 wooden playing pieces, 12 of each of 6 different colours. But you're only actually going to need all 12 of a particular colour if you're playing a 3-player game. In a 2-player game, each person is going to take 9 of 2 different colours. In a 3-player game, you're going to take 12 of one particular colour each. In a 4-player game, you're going to take 9 of one colour each. In a 5-player game, you're going to take 7 of one colour each. And in a 6-player game, you're going to take 6 of one colour each. The only other components in the game is this stack of 36 jungle tiles, and these are made from a nice, strong, thick card, which is really very sturdy, and each one is made up in shape of 3 hexagons which are joined together so that these will all tile together really nicely in any way that you want, really. But obviously there are rules that you have to follow for how they should tile together. And as you can see, there is some really beautiful black and white line work on here, monochrome, but it's really nice. Green coloration might have been quite good, but stylistically these are great, and they feature lots and lots of different plants and rainforest animals, including toucans, flying squirrels, tree frogs, snakes, lizards, butterflies, gibbons, sloths, and pangolins. The aim of the game then is to be the first player to get all of your playing pieces to escape from the jungle, but in order to do that we of course need to set up the jungle first. So we have all of our jungle tiles in a stack at the side where everybody can reach them, and the first player takes the first tile from the top of the stack and places it in the middle of the table, and then claims it with their colour of token by placing that onto the junction in the middle of those 3 pathways. The second player then takes the next tile from the top of the stack, and they're going to place this somewhere around here in order to build up the jungle, but in order to do that they're going to have one of these 3 paths connecting to a path here. When laying the tile, as well as linking up one of these pathways, you also have to have at least 2 edges of a tile touching the other tile. So we could, for example, lay it here. Annoyingly, these do not line up exactly, but this does count. But you couldn't, for instance, place it here like this, because now you've only got one edge lined up here. So we could lay it like this, we could lay it like this, we could lay it this way, or of course you could lay it round at this side here. It doesn't matter, it's up to you what you want to do. But you're going to try to work to start blocking off some of the exits out of the jungle for the other players. Of course, you have to mark your junction on your tile with your playing piece, and your playing piece is also stopping this playing piece from escaping the jungle out this way. And players are going to continue to place tiles from the top of the stack, claiming junctions, blocking off some paths, and building up a jungle until all of your playing pieces are down in a jungle space. Once all of the tiles have been laid, you'll end up with a jungle that looks a bit like this. And now it's ready to start phase 2 of the game, where you're going to have to try and escape. Within your jungle, you will probably find that you've got blank spaces or clearings which have got paths leading into them, but for the purposes of escaping the jungle, these paths do not count. You cannot escape from the jungle into one of these clearings. In order to be able to escape, you've got to be able to follow a path which takes you right to the very edge of the jungle and out. So while you might not be able to escape out of the jungle into a clearing along a path like this, you can use a path to escape out of the jungle here, or here, or here, or here, or here. This means that when you're placing your own tiles, you might want to block off an exit for your opponent so that the paths all lead to dead ends. But remember that you're going to have to claim that, so you're also going to be on a path that leads to dead ends. With the jungle set up, we move on to the second phase of the game, which is trying to get all of your pieces out of the jungle before everybody else. Now for this, you can't move a piece past another piece, whether it's your colour or your opponent's colour, and you have to move if you can. If green was starting this phase, then they could take any one of these three pieces here and move them out of the jungle. So let's take this piece and move it out, and we take that and put it to the side. It's then the second player's go, and they're going to do exactly the same. Now when you're moving your piece, you don't have to just move one tile space. You can move as far along a path as you possibly can in order to escape the jungle. You just can't move past another piece. And this is where we have to start thinking tactically in the game. If yellow was up next, they could take this piece and move it out through this path here and get rid of that. It's escaped from the jungle. But what we could also do is move this one place to here and stop there. We don't have to move out of the jungle each time, but we do have to move a piece. By stopping there, that then stops red from getting out with this piece or with this piece, which can have its advantages in this game because you've got to try and get out your pieces before your opponent. So you want to try to hold them up as much as possible while making it easy for you to get your pieces out. If it was red's go next, you can see that where they're positioned, they can't actually move anywhere with most of their pieces because they're trapped by other ones and there's no way out. The only thing that red can do is move this one here in order to get out here, leave the jungle, but everything else is trapped, and if that move wasn't available, they would have to just simply miss a go. Something to note is that although you can move your piece just one space if you want to instead of out of the jungle, you can't continually move back and forth between two tiles on your goes. So for example, if red wanted to stop yellow from getting out of here, which it's currently doing, they could move to here so that yellow can't move, but they couldn't on their next go move back to here, continuing to stop yellow. If they move to here on their next go, they're going to have to either come out of the jungle here or they're going to have to move to one of these other tiles. Due to the way that the jungle is set up in phase 1, you will find that this is usually a very close run game. And while it's easy to get pieces to escape from the jungle near the start and the middle of the phase 2, by the end of phase 2 it gets really tricky with a lot of your pieces getting trapped and not being able to move, being held in place by other players' counters. Phase 2 starts relatively simple with people just moving pieces off, but gets more and more tactical the closer you get to the end game. But eventually somebody on their turn will move their piece out of the jungle, and if it's their last piece, then they win the game. As you can see, Jungle has very simple gameplay. In the first phase you're just placing down a tile with a counter on it, and in the second phase you're just trying to move your counter along a path and off the board. There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of strategy in it. And in fact, you can play this game quite easily with no strategy whatsoever, with everybody just placing tiles wherever they want, and then in the second phase, moving their pieces off one after another until there's none left. The actual strategy in this game comes with A, where you're placing your tiles in order to try and block your opponents, but keep yourself open, and B, when you don't move your pieces off the board. When you move your pieces into positions which block the ends of paths or main junctions to get to the ends of paths in order to take control of that road so that you can try to get some of your other pieces off before your opponents do. Or trying to move your pieces so that because an opponent has to move if they can, you're going to try to force them down a dead end. Now, you're not going to be able to move them down a dead end very far, but it can be just one space down the wrong way can be enough in order to win you a game. So there definitely is strategy and thinking involved in this, and you can take quite a bit of time before making your move, but it does also seem quite railroaded at times, with a lot of what you can do being predetermined, either by where the paths already are that you have to connect to during phase 1, or in phase 2 if you're stuck and can't really move anywhere, or if you're being forced to move to somewhere that you don't want to really go because there's no other options available to you. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like you're fully in control of everything, that you're really making hard tactical decisions. And in that sense, I definitely do feel that there's better strategy games out there. As far as how this game actually looks, well, I really do like games which have paths on them with tile laying in order to build up some kind of maze. And I definitely really love jungle themed games. The adult presentation of this, though, doesn't really scratch that itch for me, though. I'm not a fan of simple wooden playing pieces. I much would have preferred if these were replaced by adventure or plastic sculpted playing pieces like in Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs. Though, given the sheer number of different coloured playing pieces you're going to need for this game, I can see that that would be quite cost prohibitive. Cost also appears to be a bit of a factor in the tiles themselves, the fact that they're only black on white. Now yes, that is definitely an aesthetic and it really does look nice, but as far as gameplay goes, it makes it more tricky. When the tiles are laid down, seeing the path in amongst all of those jungle illustrations, everything being just in black, can be quite challenging at times, and I really feel it would have benefited from some colour injection. Even if we don't have green leaves and coloured animals, which would have made it look really nice, then just having the path in a different colour from everything else on the tiles really would have made it stand out, let you see it better and be able to track your movements and plan ahead better. And the fact that the tiles aren't die cut precisely so that all of the paths link up properly does add to that visual confusion with trying to see where the path is and how it moves through the board, which again could have been overcome simply by making the path coloured. It is a beautifully illustrated game though, and the simple black and white illustrations are very visually appealing. Overall, this is quite a nice strategy game. I do enjoy playing it, but it's not one of the best and it's not one that I would keep going back to. But if you do find it, it is worth getting just to have a play about with it and see how you get on. And this can usually be picked up pretty cheaply online. Well, that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen here today. If you have, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and we'll be back with plenty more vintage games for you next time on Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.